Bagram, a name that echoes through the mountains of Afghanistan, a fortress of power, a symbol of war, and a shadow of history. For 2 decades, it stood as the beating heart of America's longest war, witnessing triumphs, tragedies, and secrets the world was never meant to see. But how did it all begin? Who built this iron stronghold in the middle of the desert, and why did the world's superpower abandon it overnight? This is the untold story of Bagram Air Base, from Soviet steel to American dominance, and finally to silence. Bagram Air Base, from Soviet pride to American powerhouse. In the dusty plains of Parwan Province, Afghanistan, lies a name written in decades of blood, power, and politics: Bagram Air Base. Once just a Soviet-built airstrip, Bagram transformed into one of the most heavily fortified and technologically advanced military bases in the world. For years, it was the epicenter of America's global war on terror, a place that hosted thousands of troops, sophisticated aircraft, drones, and an infamous prison. To soldiers, it was a symbol of might; to Afghans, a reminder of occupation; and to historians, a reflection of how empires rise and fall in the same land. This is the remarkable, turbulent story of Bagram, from its Cold War birth to its ghostly silence in 2021. 1. The Soviet beginning, 1950–1979. The origins of Bagram trace back to the 1950s, during the early years of the Cold War, when Afghanistan became a geopolitical chessboard between the United States and the Soviet Union. Both powers sought influence over Kabul, offering aid, weapons, and infrastructure projects. In 1959, with Soviet engineering assistance, construction began on a massive airfield near the village of Bagram, roughly 60 kilometers north of Kabul. Its strategic location made it ideal, a flat valley surrounded by mountains, allowing for both defense and easy surveillance. By the mid-1960s, Bagram Air Base had 2 long runways, modern hangars, and radar facilities. It was one of the most advanced air bases in Central Asia, a quiet symbol of Soviet presence in the region long before their military occupation began. 2. The Soviet invasion and the war years, 1979–1989. When the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan in December 1979, Bagram instantly became the nerve center of operations. Thousands of Soviet troops were stationed there, alongside MiG-21 fighter jets, Su-25 ground attack aircraft, and transport helicopters. From Bagram, the Soviet Air Force launched airstrikes across Afghanistan, targeting Mujahideen strongholds in the mountains. The base also served as a supply hub. All logistics, from weapons to medical care, flowed through Bagram. But it wasn't just a place of power. It became a fortress under siege. Mujahideen fighters frequently targeted the base with rockets, mines, and ambushes. Despite heavy defenses, the Soviets faced mounting losses and morale collapse. By 1989, after nearly a decade of war and over 15,000 Soviet deaths, the Red Army withdrew. Bagram was left in ruins, its runways cratered, aircraft destroyed, and barracks deserted. 3. Civil War and chaos, 1989–2001. After the Soviet withdrawal, Bagram fell into the hands of the Afghan government forces under President Najibullah. But as the civil war intensified, control shifted repeatedly between rival factions. In the 1990s, Bagram became a battlefield itself, as the Northern Alliance and Taliban forces fought for dominance. The airbase's once glorious hangars turned into makeshift shelters and bunkers. The infrastructure deteriorated, runways cracked, radar towers fell, and the surrounding villages suffered heavy damage. When the Taliban captured Kabul in 1996, they sought to seize Bagram too, but Ahmad Shah Massoud's Northern Alliance resisted fiercely. For years, both sides exchanged artillery and rocket fire over the base's ruins. Bagram's name again became synonymous with conflict, but its most significant chapter was yet to come. 4. The U.S. arrival, Operation Enduring Freedom, 2001-2002. After the September 11 attacks, the United States launched Operation Enduring Freedom in October 2001 to dismantle the Taliban regime and hunt down al-Qaeda. By December 2001, American and Allied forces, with the help of the Northern Alliance, captured Bagram Air Base. What followed was nothing short of transformation. Within months, U.S. engineers and NATO contractors turned Bagram from a wrecked Soviet relic into a modern military powerhouse. New runways were paved, satellite communication systems were installed, and massive barracks and command centers were built. It became the largest U.S. base in Afghanistan, housing up to 40,000 personnel at its peak. It had fast food outlets, hospitals, gymnasiums, and even movie theaters, a small American city amid war. 5. The War Hub of the World, 2002-2014. For over a decade, Bagram was the heart of U.S. military operations in Afghanistan. From its control rooms, drone strikes were coordinated, missions were launched, and logistics for the entire region were managed. The base hosted an impressive fleet, including F-16s, C-130s, Apache helicopters, and surveillance drones. The skies above Bagram rarely rested. Day and night, aircraft took off and landed with precision. But Bagram also held a darker side, the Bagram Theater Internment Facility, where detainees suspected of terrorism were held and interrogated. Human rights organizations criticized it for alleged abuses, calling it the Guantanamo of Afghanistan. Despite the controversies, Bagram remained essential to the U.S. war strategy. Generals, presidents, and world leaders visited it as a symbol of American strength and commitment. 6. Shifting winds, the drawdown in Afghan control, 2014-2021. By 2014, the U.S. began reducing its troop presence under President Obama's withdrawal plan. The Afghan National Army took partial control of Bagram, while U.S. forces focused on counterterrorism missions. Over time, the base became quieter. Rows of aircraft disappeared, and once busy hangars turned empty. Yet, Bagram still symbolized America's enduring footprint in Afghanistan, a final bastion of power. In 2020, as peace talks began with the Taliban, the U.S. prepared for a full exit. On July 2, 2021, in a secret overnight operation, the U.S. military silently evacuated Bagram Air Base, shutting off electricity without notifying the Afghan forces immediately. When Afghan troops entered hours later, they found the base deserted, a ghost city of metal, memories, and military leftovers. 7. The fall of Kabul and the return of the Taliban, 2021. Just weeks after the U.S. withdrawal, the Taliban advanced rapidly, capturing provincial capitals and finally Kabul on August 15, 2021. Bagram once again changed hands now under Taliban control. For many, this moment symbolized the end of a 20-year war and the collapse of America's longest foreign campaign. The same base that once hosted the world's most powerful army now stood under the flag of those it had fought for 2 decades. The Taliban government has since used Bagram for limited military purposes, but its former grandeur has faded. What remains is history, and a haunting reminder of how quickly power can shift. 8. Symbolism and legacy. Bagram Air Base stands today as more than just an airfield. It represents the cycle of foreign intervention in Afghanistan, from the Soviet Union to the United States, and now, back to local control. Each empire believed it could change Afghanistan's destiny, yet all left under similar circumstances, weary, uncertain, and questioned by history. Bagram's crumbling hangars and silent runways echo a lesson the world too often forgets. In Afghanistan, time belongs not to invaders but to survivors. Conclusion. From Cold War tensions to the War on Terror, Bagram Air Base has witnessed every chapter of modern Afghan history. It began as a Soviet dream, became an American fortress, and ended as a ghost of both. Its story is not just about warplanes or soldiers, it's about ambition, resilience, and the price of empire. For 60 years, Bagram stood at the crossroads of global politics, shaping and being shaped by the world's most powerful nations. And now, as the sun sets over its silent runways, the echoes of helicopters and the memories of those who fought and fell there remain, a testament to the cost of power and the persistence of history. The battle for Bagram Air Base. Trump's threat, the reality behind it, and what could happen next. Introduction. The issue of Bagram Air Base is not just political. It's strategic, emotional, and deeply symbolic. Afghanistan's soil has seen empires rise and fall, and today, once again, the world's attention turns to it. After former U.S. President Donald Trump warned that bad things are going to happen if the Taliban don't hand Bagram back. But what's the truth behind this threat? Can the U.S. really reclaim Bagram? And what would that mean for Afghanistan and the world? Let's explore the full story. Trump threat, what did he really mean? In September 2025, former U.S. President Donald Trump made headlines during a press conference and on social media, warning that if the Taliban don't give back Bagram Air Base, bad things are going to happen. He described Bagram's strategic importance, emphasizing that it lies close to several sensitive Chinese regions, making it a potential U.S. stronghold in Asia once again. Trump's stance was clear. Leaving Bagram was a mistake, one that he would never have made. This statement was not just about Afghanistan. It was a mix of political pressure and geopolitical signaling, meant to project strength, revive America's global presence, and fuel his domestic political narrative. Jigsaw background and legal/political boundaries. 1. The Doha Agreement. In 2020, the U.S. and the Taliban signed the Doha Agreement, where Washington pledged to respect Afghanistan's territorial sovereignty, avoid the use or threat of force inside the country. The Taliban now refer to that agreement and argue that any American attempt to return would be a violation. Their official stance is firm. Not an inch of Afghan land will be given back. 2. Regional reactions. If the U.S. even attempts to retake Bagram, it could trigger serious regional consequences. At the recent Moscow format consultative meeting, major regional powers, China, Russia, Pakistan, Iran, and India, jointly declared the return of any foreign military bases to Afghanistan is unacceptable. This united front shows that the region sees any U.S. comeback as a direct threat to stability, one that could ignite a new geopolitical crisis. 3. Practical and military challenges. Reclaiming Bagram isn't just about making threats, it's about logistics, resources, and risk. Such an operation would require thousands of deployed troops, securing supply chains, rebuilding air and communication networks, and managing on-ground intelligence. Analysts estimate that this would cost billions of dollars and demand months of coordination, with no guarantee of success. 4. The political angle. Trump's statements about Bagram are also a domestic political strategy. By highlighting Biden's failed withdrawal from Afghanistan, Trump aims to portray himself as the stronger leader, the one who wouldn't have abandoned U.S. influence. For him, Bagram isn't just a base, it's a symbol of power, and reclaiming it, even rhetorically, reinforces his campaign message. Make America great again, everywhere. White heavy checkmark Taliban's response. In reaction, Taliban spokesperson Zabihullah Mujahid firmly rejected Trump's comments, calling them unrealistic and irrational. He stated, "Bagram belongs to Afghanistan, not America. The U.S. signed the Doha Agreement and must respect it. We will not surrender a single inch of our land." This response highlights that the Taliban now see themselves not as insurgents, but as a sovereign state authority, defending Afghanistan's independence on the global stage. Magnifying glass-tilted left possible outcomes and scenarios. Scenario explanation. Security crisis. Any U.S. attempt to retake Bagram could trigger violent clashes and renewed instability. Negotiated settlement. The U.S. and Taliban could reach a limited deal, partial access, or technical cooperation. Weapon retrieval. The U.S. might use this demand to negotiate the return of leftover military equipment. Regional tension. China, Russia, Pakistan, and Iran could directly oppose and counter any American move. Reputation damage. A failed attempt would further hurt U.S. credibility on the world stage. Pressure on Taliban government. Renewed tension could weaken the Taliban's internal control. Alternative tactics. Instead of direct control, the U.S. might rely on intelligence partnerships and covert operations in the region. Direct hit summary / conclusion. Trump's warning about retaking Bagram is politically powerful but practically unrealistic. The key facts are: 1. The Taliban are firmly opposed and have international backing for their stance. 2. Regional powers are united against any new U.S. military presence. 3. Retaking Bagram would mean a full-scale geopolitical confrontation, not just a tactical move. 4. It's more likely that Trump's statement is a negotiation tactic or campaign rhetoric, not an actual policy plan. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, speech balloon, comment your thoughts below, bell and subscribe to our channel so you never miss any update on world news and powerful stories from around the globe.